Hey everyone, I'm Deb from Cooking with Mo and Deb. Mo is coming over to my house a little while later and we're going to make cornbread dressing. So what is the first thing you need when you're making cornbread dressing? You are right, cornbread. So I'm going to go ahead and make the cornbread so that when she gets here we'll have all the ingredients to make the dressing. The dressing is from my Yellowstone cookbook. You saw us make several things from it. Well, in the recipe it says to use Monica's Jalapeno-Cheddar cornbread. So I'm going to flip over to the page that has Monica's Jalapeno-Cheddar cornbread recipe, and I'm going to go ahead and make it for you. And then it'll be ready for when Mo gets here so we can make her dressing. So let me show you what we do. First thing you do is turn on your oven to 375, and then you take your skillet. If you have it, a cast iron skillet. I'm using my Pampered Chef skillet. It's not a cast iron, but it's my favorite one, and it works just fine. I'm going to add some oil to it, and then we're going to put it in the oven. We're going to let the pan heat up in the oven. Okay, so now let's do our dry ingredients. So in a small, the dry ingredients. In a small bowl, we're going to whisk together cornmeal, flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. So first thing is 1 cup of cornmeal. That's this right here. So let me measure in 1 cup. This is a 1/4 measure. So this one is 4. So there's 1 cup of cornmeal. And next is flour, and flour is all-purpose flour. There's also 1 cup of all-purpose flour that goes in. This is also a 1/4 cup measure. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, there's the flour. Okay, so next we're going to do some baking powder and baking soda. So there's 2 teaspoons of baking powder right here. Let's get a teaspoon measurer right here. There's 1 and 2. Don't you love it how they build that in so you can scrape off your measure? If you get a big spoonful, you can actually scrape it off there. Isn't that so thoughtful of somebody? And then we want 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Let's see, this is a 1/4, so I'll use the 1/4 to get out my 1/2. There's 1, and there's 2. Okay, there's that. And then the last thing that goes in this part is 1 teaspoon of salt. So this was my 1 teaspoon, and I just need to add 1 teaspoon there. And we just want to stir this up a little bit, and we'll set it aside, and we'll work on our wet ingredients. Just kind of fluff it around a little bit. We didn't have to sift this, but as you stir it, that kind of puts a little air in there and fluffs it up a little bit and gets, of course, all the ingredients mixed up really good. Okay, let's set this aside. And we need a bigger bowl to do the next step. So the next thing we're going to do is, in a large bowl, we're going to whisk in the eggs, creamed corn, buttermilk, oil, and onion, jalapenos, and then we're going to add that dry to the wet and add the cheddar cheese. So let's get started with 2 large eggs right here. We're going to put 2 eggs in here. There's 1. And there's 2. Now I'm going to go wash my hands. I can't continue this with egg on my fingers, so I'll be right back. So the next thing we add after the eggs is 1 can of creamed corn. We've got the cream style corn. I've already opened it. I'm going to add this. And before we continue, I am going to get my little whisk, and I'm going to go ahead and whisk those eggs. That would probably have been a good thing to do in the very beginning. Whisk those 2 eggs together a little bit. But better late than never. Alright, eggs are whisked. Okay, the next thing to add is 1.5 cups of buttermilk. I don't use a whole lot of buttermilk. And I've already made this recipe once. So I'm glad to be making it again, and I can use up this buttermilk without wasting it. And we have shown you, this is the 1/2 cup measure, and I need 1.5 cups. We've shown you a couple of ways in Tuesday Tips about saving your buttermilk. One was to take that leftover buttermilk and to put it into an ice cube tray and freeze it, and then you have your ice cubes so that you can use that later when you need it. Because if you just let this sit in the refrigerator, it's going to, unless you use it a lot, it's going to ruin. I don't use it a lot, so I need to do that with the rest of this so I don't let it ruin. I hate to let things ruin. Okay, after the buttermilk, we need to add 1 small yellow onion, and it says 1 can of jalapeno chilies, which I couldn't find, but I have jalapenos. Mine are red. They were green, and I've had them long enough to where they've turned red, so I'm going to chop these up to put in here. So let's chop up some jalapenos. It's a little bit hot. It's not too bad. Chop them up pretty small. I'm not going to use all of these. Okay, there's my chopped jalapenos. Let's add them to the bowl. There we go. Barely touched them. Okay, and I have only 1/2 of an onion, but that is because this was a large onion, and it said it said to use a small onion. So I'm just using 1/2 of the one that I have. All right. That's a good bit of onion. I think that's perfect. And we'll put that right here into the bowl. Okay, now what's next? And we've got some oil to add, and the oil is, how much oil? 1/2 cup. So let me pour in 1/2 cup, and we'll stir this up with that whisk. Oh, that onion is kind of getting my eyes. 1/2 cup of oil. All right, it's looking pretty good. Where did I put? Here's my whisk. Let's get these things mixed, and then we're going to add our flour. It's really pretty, and I tell you, when it's cooked, it looks really good. Okay, let's add some flour in. I'm not going to add it all at once. Just add about 1/2 of it. Let's go ahead and mix this up. Now I forgot about the cheese. I've got some in the refrigerator, but it's not shredded yet, so I'm not going to make you stay here while I shred that cheese. I'm going to mix up the rest of this flour, and then I'm going to get my cheese out and I'll grate it, and I'll come back when I've got that cheese grated. Be right back. Are your pans like this and your handles get really hot when they're in the oven? And you take it out, and have you ever forgotten that it was a hot handle? Be very careful. I'm not going to admit to it or not, but just be very careful with your handles. When I take it out, I leave a pot holder or something laying on the handle so I don't forget. But that is a hot handle. Okay, I have 1.5 cups of sharp cheddar cheese to mix into my cornbread mix. And here's something that my mom has always done. It's never hurt. I've done it too because I saw her doing it. You know, I put some oil in this to heat up the pan. So I'm just going to swirl that oil around, all around the sides. This is a 10-inch skillet, by the way. And then I'm going to pour that excess oil into my cornbread. Mama has always done it, so I do it too. That's where I saw it, and it's always been fun. I just mix it in and bake. Okay, let's pour this cornbread into my skillet, my hot-handled skillet. It makes a big old pan of cornbread too. Alright. Now, that is finished and ready, all mixed up and ready to go into the oven. And it came out of my Yellowstone cookbook. This is Monica's Jalapeno-Cheddar Cornbread. It should look something like this. I'm not putting the jalapenos in there like that. I chopped mine up, but this is what we're making. And this is going to go into another recipe, although I'm sure we'll take a little slice or two out for ourselves. So there you go. Hope you like this. Hope you try it. If you do like it, let us know. Bye.